Have you ever like took a girl out on a date or wanted to take a girl out on a date, but you're like on your last 36 cents, but you'll never let her know because you don't want to look like a peasant, so you have to make up some dumb excuse or come up with some really elaborate plan to make it work? Yeah, that's one of the many joys of being broke. In this beautiful day and age, you cannot do anything without money. And as the saying goes, money makes the world jiggle. You want to travel somewhere, it's gonna cost you money. You're hungry and you want to eat? Cough up some cash. You're on your deathbed and are in desperate need of a treatment that could save your life, but you can't afford it? Oh, and if you somehow can afford the treatment but end up dying anyways, your family has the beautiful privilege of still paying those medical bills. You just cannot escape it. It has some sort of grasp on every single person in the world. One big reason more than 80% of adults wake up in the morning is pursuing some sort of wealth. Don't quote me on that statistic. It is the driving force that keeps society moving forward. Literally, having more of it makes your life easier. Having less of it doesn't. And that's why it's a main point of stress for like most adults. Bro, when I can't afford the thing I really want, I'm not joking, I genuinely start tweaking. Like, it's so frustrating because it pretty much puts your entire life on pause. I never feel more angry than when I'm broke. I be wanting to get violent, like punching walls and stuff, but I have to keep that beast inside. It's not like back in the good old days where if you wanted something, you would hunt for it. You know, fun little activities like raiding a village or, you know, forcing other people to do your work for you. You know, the fun stuff. And now everything is behind one big system that you have to pay for.
You're making us pay for water, you son of a... You're making us pay for grapes? Apples? Things that God gave us for free, you will burn in hell.
So, you know, long story short, how much money you have can greatly impact your mental health. So I did a quick Google search to find out the many mental health problems that come with having a financial burden, and it's not looking good. Symptoms include stress, anxiety, depression, low self-esteem, and feelings of guilt or shame. And I have ticked every one of those boxes at least once in my life. Being depressed is one thing, but being depressed and broke? I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. You know, being depressed already comes with many of its problems. You know, you're sad all the time or tired, an extreme lack of motivation. You know, you're not feeling fly like a G6. But add being broke on top of that, and suddenly jumping in front of a moving truck doesn't sound like a bad idea. Like, you can't even cheer yourself up. You can't go anywhere or do anything because you don't have money to go anywhere or do anything. You know, at least if you're depressed and have money, you can take yourself out, you know, cheer yourself up, you know. Maybe you can even afford some therapy. But when you don't have that, you're just stuck. That's it. That's what you get. You're stuck. You're broke. And maybe you got depressed because you were broke. And now that feeling is just making the feeling of being broke worse. And it's just a cycle. It's just emotions that eat on themselves. Have you ever gone through a time where it felt like life was meaningless? You know, you're just hanging on by a thread and your friends are like, let's do something. Let's meet up. And you do hang out. And all of a sudden, things just click. Things just make sense. All of a sudden, life is not so bad. Doing this all the time would be so healthy and so good for you. So you want to do all these fun activities with your friends. So you look at your wallet and realize it's empty. You see, that's what grinds my gears about this whole thing. Even enjoying life costs money. Like, yeah, you can enjoy life without going out or spending money on food or drinks. But having money can expand your horizons to the amount of things you can do. And that brings us to the biggest question about money. And may I just say, I absolutely hate when people ask this question because there's an obvious answer to this. So if you catch yourself asking me this, just prepare yourself. Just brace yourself for what's coming. Everyone has been asked this question or heard this question being asked at least once in their life, and that is, can money buy happiness? So what you're asking me is, would I be happy if I could have anything in the world I want? And if I could give the people in my life that I love anything they wanted in their life and not have to stress about little things. You know what? It would actually make me really depressed. It would actually make me really sad. You know, the money really isn't that important. Of course it would make me happy. Yes, the answer is always going to be yes, money can buy happiness. And I hate how people make it look like you're some hedonistic douchebag for saying that. You can literally buy yourself an entirely new life. Get yourself the best healthcare. Eat the best and healthiest food in the world. And dress yourself in the most high quality fabrics you could find, free from the stresses a lot of people face. What part of that does not sound lovely? Where's the disconnect? You see how dumb this question is? If you ever catch me and I'm in a good place in my life, like I'm flourishing financially, and you hear me complain and say things like, oh, my life sucks, I hate my life, oh no, you have permission to jump me and rob me of everything I have, because I'm just now talking crazy. And I don't know how we convinced ourselves as a community that it'll never make anyone happy, and honestly I'm disappointed we let that slide, because it's not even remotely true. Like Degenerosity said, the person who probably said money wouldn't buy happiness is probably the richest man who just wanted poor people to stay poor, or the brokest man you'll ever see, who was just a pure hater. And look, I try to understand that everyone has problems, everyone struggles, including rich people, but come on. Like, rich people struggle, yeah, but I'ma need them to shut up when we're having a conversation about struggles. Like, their struggles are things like they don't have friends, or are lonely, or you know, their wife hates them or something like that. And honestly, it sounds like a skill issue to me. As you get older, life gets harder and harder when you don't have money, and it can greatly change how people see and perceive you. From the moment you turn 18 and are freshly out of high school, it is expected of you to make something of your life, which means naturally as you get older, you're gonna take up more and more responsibility. And a lot of those responsibilities are gonna cost you money. For most people, they have one of two choices: pursue higher education or go straight into the workforce. And let's say you do go into higher education. You know, being a broke university or college student actually isn't that bad. I mean, everyone in university is broke, because you know, you really don't have time to be working a job because you're too occupied with classes and assignments and such. I mean, you can work a job, but it makes things a lot harder. I have friends who would wake up in the morning, take classes, clock out of school and into their job, and then rinse and repeat every day. I, as a student myself, am very privileged that my parents can still take care of me. But as a legally grown adult, I feel very guilty having another adult take care of me, even if it's purely out of love. Being independent and responsible for yourself is kind of like the entire point of adulting. Like, yeah, my parents do want to take care of me, but I feel like as I get older, they want to let go of less and less of that responsibility. I mean, I wouldn't want to be taking care of another grown adult. But you know, that's the good thing about being a student. You can always give the excuse that you're still a student, you're still figuring it out, you're still building towards your college career. And let's say you do decide to work. First of all, I just want to say I hope you're doing great. Keep going. I guess the terrible thing about working is if you're not making enough money to afford what you want, and if you decide you don't want to work anymore, society is gonna consider you a bum. And that's the whole point I'm trying to bring up here. Sometimes it's not even really about the money or the amount of things you can buy. Sometimes it's about being a well-respected human being. And having money can greatly change how people are gonna decide to respect you, unfortunately. Especially as a man. Because most of your value is gonna be dependent on what you can provide. That's the unfortunate truth. So when you have money and everything is in order, people tend to see you as responsible, respectable, hardworking, sometimes even smart. No matter where that money comes from. People naturally trust you more because they respect the fact that you're responsible enough to take care of yourself. Meanwhile, when you're broke, people just see you as an absolute bum. You're pretty much worthless, and a lot of people are not gonna view you the same way they're gonna view a wealthy person. That's why it just straight up feels like super embarrassing when you don't have money, because all you're feeling is worthless. And I'll tell you right now, it's a horrible feeling. Especially relationships. You know, unfortunately, relationships cost money. Things like dates, little activities, lunch, etc. is gonna cost you money. As a man, the older you get, the more it's gonna be expected of you to spend your money. I mean, you could find a girl that doesn't care how much money you have, and God bless their souls, but you can only do Netflix and chills for so long. You know, eventually, because it's a societal norm, she's gonna expect you to take her out on a date, you know, buy her flowers, do something nice. And if you don't do those things, things, guess what?
He throwing it in her mouth.
He throw it in her jalooper.
And guess what? She's liking it.
You know, girls aren't really expected to have money on dates and stuff, and they can get away with it by saying things like, I'm just a girl. But you, my guy, have to get to work. Clock in and lock in, my friend, because this existence is not nice. And not to mention how the economy is in such a weird place. You'll be scrolling on the internet and like seeing these 16-year-olds blow up on TikTok and make these insane amounts of money. And at some point you're just like wondering what's the point of even trying. And not to mention the housing crisis. Like nobody can afford houses anymore. And don't get me started on the amount of stories I've heard from my parents' generation about how you didn't need to go to university and you can work a regular job and be able to afford yourself a house. We are now way past those times. But anyways, in conclusion,